2011.
And joining us now is KTVU political analyst Brian Sobel. Brian, a lot of broad messages today,
Yes.
No real specifics. That will come on Thursday when he releases his budget. What were your overall thoughts on what the governor had to say today?
Very aspirational speech, lots of platitudes, tends to be the type of speech Newsom gives in these kinds of circumstances. And audience ate it up, and the little governor running out on the stage was cute.
That is very cute. The governor is known for his bold moves.
Yes.
Today, again, the broad strokes. But now it's time to get down to work. And the governor said now is also the time to seize the moment and for California to lead. Here's what he said.
People's lives, freedom, security, the water we drink, the air we breathe, they all hang in the balance. The country is watching us. The world is waiting on us, and the future depends on us. And we will seize the moment.
What do you think about that, Brian? How will he seize the moment?
Well, that's a question. That sounds like almost national rhetoric as opposed to a state among 50. One of the things we're going to have to see is how active this governor is nationally. And because you have to count on Washington for so many things like we've witnessed after the fires. You have to keep a relationship with the White House and Congress and that sort of thing. So in the middle of all this inspiration, he's going to have to govern. And governing in California, as you know, is tough business. It's a big state, 40 million people, 58 county governments, 500 city governments, and every day, school boards, everything else, every day somebody's calling the governor's office needing something.
Yeah, also today, Governor Newsom thanked Governor Brown for creating a strong foundation, one that he says he plans to build on. How do you think his governing style will differ compared to Jerry Brown's?
Completely different. Jerry Brown wasn't somebody who was seeking the limelight in the same way, and that's not a negative, just a different kind of personality, preferred to do things behind the scenes. I think you're going to see a very activist governor in Governor Newsom, and you'll see him on the national talk shows. You'll see him, trying to have a national presence. He believes, and he said it, that California is essentially a nation state, and given that kind of definition of the state, we're going to see him around the country a lot more.
Governor Newsom has made a lot of promises. He has a lot of bold plans. He also has a $14.5 billion deficit. It was very important for Governor Brown to have a rainy day fund, to have a deficit. Here you have Governor Newsom with that $14.5 billion surplus, excuse me. And you have Democratic majorities in both the Senate and the Assembly. There are a lot of people who are going to want to spend that money. What does the governor do?
The governor has to be the gatekeeper, and he's made a lot of promises to a lot of constituency groups. You have some powerful, if you just look at the top 10 political action committees in Sacramento, to include the CNA, the California Nurses Association, the CMA, the doctors, the teachers, they all have things on their list that he's talked to them about doing. When they all come together and say, Governor, it's our turn, he's going to see that $14.5 billion that we're talking about here possibly erode pretty quickly. He's got to be very careful to try to hang on to that money, because if he doesn't, it will go away, and that's going to be the biggest problem as governor, is how you manage all of that.
Brian, last question before we let you go. Many Californians, a lot of people say that Governor Newsom has higher political aspirations. If you could give him some advice right now, what would you tell him?
I would say, Governor, run this state beautifully. You run the state beautifully, and the sky's the limit for you, and the sky for him is President of the United States.
What's the biggest mistake he could make as a new governor?
I think he could make and fulfill a lot of promises that he made along the way without really taking a hard look at it now that he's governor, about what fits into the budget and how you can make it happen.
All right.
We find out the budget on Thursday.
On Thursday.
Yeah. Yep. Brian, we'll talk to you again at 6. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Brian.